has been a very long journey doing this project. I'm Francis as well, for some of you that don't know me. And I met some of you during the interview and helping out Francis that wrote and delivered this fantastic project. I myself am from Sierra Leone and I've been in Liverpool for over 20 years. So hopefully the next project will be the one that will be talking about our lives in Liverpool as well.
But one of the lessons I think I have learned over the years is that a lot of us have very short-term processes in trying to achieve certain things. And for some of us who've worked in the community for years and years and years, some of us have hardly seen much progress. And I think part of the problem with that is that we're too short-term in terms of how we do our planning. If we'd planned 20 years ahead, 20 years back, I think we would have progressed a lot further than we have done today. So it's about, again, Pastor sort of alluded to this, it's about the young and the old coming together to make a better future for those who are coming behind them.
So we thought that in doing this project, we should examine some of these points that he comes out with. We shouldn't just come and get this material archived and then we move out of this room and nothing happens. If after this we sit down and network and ask that, what the hell is wrong with us as a people, as a community, as Africans? Whether it's in Africa or whether when we come to Europe or go to America, there's something that's not right. We don't know why all of this is happening, but we can start getting that conversation. Us as a community in Liverpool, if we start talking to each other, we get to know everybody. I know everybody inside here now, but everybody does not know themselves. That's why one of the items on the program is that we should network. We should get to know ourselves. But after networking, what is going to happen? After networking, we'll ask a very simple question. Why don't we have an African center? Why don't we have an African hall in Liverpool? Why don't we have an African club in Liverpool? Why do we have a Nigerian club? Why do we have a Somali club? We don't even have a Cameroonian club. I'm from Cameroon. I would have liked to have a Cameroonian club. But then this is good. You have to identify where you come from. But as a group, we have to grow. We have to evolve. We have to move from where we are now.
It's nice to know that something like this is going on. When he first came to say this, at first I was thinking, do I want anybody to know my story? Do I want to share anything with anybody? Do I have something worth sharing to start with? Because at times, you don't know if what you have is worth sharing. You don't know if it will impact anybody's life or not. So I think that's what makes as if Nigerians or Africans don't have things like that, because we look down on ourselves. People look down on us, but we are our own worst enemy because we look down on ourselves. We think, I don't have what is worth sharing. So it's encouraging what is happening here today, and I pray that we take it off from them. A lot of things are happening. We have people who are anxious to get things going. So maybe this will spur us on and urge us to move on, and things can begin to happen. People can begin to hear our story, that we too will become a voice and a force to be reckoned with. I was listening to Mr. Femi. Seeing you now, I could put a face. It's nice what he was saying. At least I wasn't here during the riot, but I got a lot from what he said. So that's why things like this are needed.
The riot was in 1981 in Liverpool, and it was very significant for me and for a lot of others. And I'll explain why I say that in a minute. And anyway, the riots happened.
What was the cause of the riots?
It was basically police brutality. That's what it was all about, basically. And what had happened was the police chased somebody into the famous Granby Street in Liverpool, and they tried to arrest him. And at one point, then the community rebelled against that. And the riots lasted well over a week. It stopped and then started again. But it was significant for me in the sense that around that time, the Charles Wooden Centre became the hub of activity. Every politician in the UK came to Charles Wooden Centre, apart from Margaret Thatcher, who was the Prime Minister at the time. But she had sent Michael Heseltine, who eventually became the Minister for Merseyside.
What part did you play during the riots?
I was, as I said, the Charles Wooden Centre became the hub of activity. And the part I was playing was basically trying to calm things down as much as I could. We were negotiating with the police and, trying to get the police. And I remember one conversation we had with policemen where the focus of the riot at this point was on the policemen. And I remember saying to him, to this police officer, if you take your men out of the area, we can guarantee there will be no problems. If you leave your men in the area, the problems will continue. They wouldn't have it. No, they can't abandon the area. By this time, they'd surrounded Liverpool 8. They had policemen from all over the country, actually, and in Liverpool at the time. It was the first time in mainland Britain that rubber bullets were used. And we collected some of that rubber bullet and was given to me, and I lost them to start with. And I really panicked. But thank goodness we did find those bullets eventually, because we wanted to show it to the press and so on. Because otherwise they might have denied that they used rubber bullets.
We need to start asking these questions. There's something not right. I told somebody about a week ago that if Facebook was started by an African, probably would have died by now. Because for some bizarre reason, if YouTube was started by an African, probably would have died by now. One of the young people that we interviewed for this project, unfortunately, is not here, Sam Noti. He's from Ghana. I think he's brilliant. He came to this country when he was 15 years old, and he's managed, despite all the problems, he has loads and loads of problems, like all of us anyway, but he had particular problems. But he now runs a Mexican restaurant. He's from Ghana. He's not from Mexico. He's African.
Now, coming on to why didn't I open an African restaurant? I'll tell you one thing, and that's a fact. Anything African has got a stigma. Anything African has got a stigma.
Can you explain that?
If I was to open this restaurant, and call it African restaurant, I'll be bankrupt from the time I open the door. And I'm telling you the truth. It's the honest truth. I've had Africans coming in here, especially Nigerians, coming in here, trying to negotiate with you on price, on food. Meanwhile, they don't go to the next door and do that. So why should they come here and think they can negotiate price with me when the price is set on the menu? So the question I do ask them is that, boss, if you go next door, would you do that? If you go to Nabzi's, would you do that? They said no. And I said, so why do you have to do it here? Oh, we are Africans. Are you serious?
Are you saying that Africans normally don't support other African businesses? They don't want to see them grow?
No, they don't.
Why is that?
And that's the truth.
Why is that?
You see, we are so wrapped up. We are so wrapped up in competing with each other rather than supporting each other. And that is the downfall of Africans, not just in Europe, but back home.
We have to move above that, but we have to start somewhere. So we are hoping that, as I asked, why don't we run African businesses? Why don't we have a business structure that we can call our own? For some reason, each time you want to see us on radio and television, it's when somebody has committed a crime, most of the time. So when we are doing something that's supposed to be positive, you hardly get the main media covering what we are saying, and this is the cold, hard truth. So if we want to move on as a community, we must think about getting our own radio, getting our own television, getting our own newspapers. Those things in this day and age, they are not expensive to run. You won't believe it. They are not expensive to run. Because you can run a radio and a TV without without getting all of what the BBC has now, all of that. You can run TV on YouTube. That's going to be completely free. But if we don't get to that level, if we don't start acting as a community, very, very little is going to happen. I can't prescribe what you are going to do to move this on. I think most of you here, you are much more sharp, much more intelligent than I am. So if you put our heads together, hopefully we are going to come out with something